You see the current problem in Nigeria.
Yes,
The current problem in Nigeria is caused by Nigerian lawyers. If you know the enormity of authority that is vested on a lawyer by virtue of his training and exposure, you will understand what I'm talking about. A country that claims to have sovereignty to import foreign terrorists into its territory to kill its citizens, that should tell you that something is fundamentally wrong. And then rehabilitate these foreign terrorists into his army, and they are killing their citizens. Come on. See, we are waiting for Donald Trump. They should move in the U.S. Army. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu case is a perfect example of feudalism using law against the people. That's Sharia. That's Sharia in action. What we are seeing is Sharia in action. The level of stupidity that is pervading the airspace. Yeah, I mean it. I say the level of stupidity that is pervading, that is pervading the airspace of Nigeria, particularly amongst the so-called educated class, is shocking. Okay. The legal profession in Nigeria has failed. I have said it. I have done broadcast about it. And I've told them, some people are so afraid, they are threatening me that they will derope me. I don't give a damn. I am acting in the legal profession in Nigeria like that reverend. I'm going to do a calligraphic piece to honor him. That is one thing that I do. I'm a calligrapher. I'm a consultant calligrapher. I'm going to do a calligraphic piece in his honor. I'm going to do that. I owe him that. I already bought the paper today, and I'm going to do that work for him. The legal profession in Nigeria lost it when Rivers State was on trial, when Rivers State was taken up through that constitutional fraud. The legal profession in Nigeria had a singular opportunity of declaring a state of emergency and rejecting the process and possibly close down law practice in Nigeria. On the 6th day, is it 6th day or 14th day of January 2014, lawyers in Wales and England, they went on protest because Chris Hani, who was the Justice Secretary then, wanted to tamper with a constitutional provided fund which they used to defend the poor and to drive public attention to that wrong, that perceived wrong. Because the moment, because of fund, you deprive those who would have been defended, they see it as injustice. That's where law works. That's where rule of law works. They went on demonstration in their wig and gown. The first time in the history of English law that happened in UK in 2014. But the lawyers in Nigeria, they are giving in. I don't know what is wrong with us. I don't see anything they are going to do because we have failed Nigeria. You have professors who are waiting to be elected, to be selected as electoral fraud validator. It's a balance. That's where we are. Okay, look at overseas today. Have you heard of professors in foreign universities sleeping with girls? Have you heard of such thing, or collecting money to make people pass?
You will lose your job.
I mean, in UK, 3 judges were removed from office for mere watching pornography. In UK, that's where law works. You know, the fellow that I'm making reference to, the son that he trained in UK, he trained his son in UK. He acquired master's degree in law. The son have decided that he's not going to practice law, that he's going to do agriculture. And I said that is the best decision because the father is an affront to what he is trained in law to be. Because there is a benchmark of law, which is the hallmark of democracy, which is rule of law. Like those who are in Europe, who are listening to us, the hallmark, why Europe is thriving, why Europe is looking forward and growing, the hallmark is that nobody is above the law. No matter who you are, no matter how good you are, you are under the law. And once you deviate, you'll be called to order. You heard what Sanusi said recently. He said, you see Nigerians that are in position of authority, well educated, but in action they act like illiterates. Is 100% correct. You see the current problem in Nigeria. Yes, the current problem in Nigeria is caused by Nigerian lawyers. And I've said it. When revolution will start, it's a matter of time because it is inevitable. Majority of lawyers will not be spared. I carried out a study some time ago, and I tried to find out why Jesus placed curse on lawyers in his own time. I realized that, I think about in the book of Luke, 3 times he said, woe unto you lawyers. I realized that Jesus did not hate lawyers. He actually acknowledged that lawyers hold the key to knowledge. But they were taking undue advantage of the law. That is turning the law upside down. Using law, instead of pursuing the cause of justice, they were using law as instrument of oppression, suppression, and repression. And when he realized that this was what they were using the law for, he said, woe unto you, 3 times. Now, if you know the enormity of authority that is vested on a lawyer by virtue of his training and exposure, you will understand what I'm talking about. What happened in my state? The judicial terrorism, yes, the judicial terrorism that took place. Because what has happened recently has opened our eyes to the realities on the ground. The judicial terrorism that took place in Rivers State, the protagonist is a live bencher in Nigeria. That's why I've said that with such character, being live bencher, the future of legal profession in Nigeria is doomed unless such characters are pushed out of the legal profession.
But what is that qualification? What qualifies him to be a live bencher? Because many will want to understand the qualification.
Yes, for you
to make him a live bencher.
Yes, that is the peak. Being a live bencher is the peak. For you to be a bencher, these are the people, we can call them the guardians of the legal profession in the country. Like in Nigeria, this is the body of the guardians, those who guide the soul of the law. So you are supposed to be a person of the highest legal distinction for you to be a bencher. You are supposed to be a person, yes, the highest legal distinction. When you talk about distinction, as of merit. But that such a character acquired the position of a live bencher tells you how the system has collapsed. Because I did an article some time ago, I asked, how did you become a live bencher? It is an indictment. The thing has become so bad to the point that not too long ago, my alma mater awarded this same fellow an honorary doctorate degree in law. Yes, your alma mater here gave him honorary doctorate degree in political science. You know why it has to happen?
Why, sir?
Because the system, you know, the citadel of intellectualism is supposed to be knowledge export center, where ideas are generated. I mean, life transforming and employment generating ideas are supposed to be thrown out of the academic environment. Unfortunately, the thing has been turned upside down. This award we are hearing is an attempt by the VC to secure their position, because if they award, they may lose their position. Their tenure of job is no longer secure. I have challenged the 2 universities. In the light of realities on the ground, they should mention the criteria upon which they awarded this honorary doctorate degree. Because if you go to AI, Meta AI, and check out the meaning of honorary doctorate degree, you just check it out, you will understand that it is a slap. We have failed Nigeria. We have failed Nigerians. And we have failed ourselves.
The US cannot do anything? You think the US is not capable of living through to their threats?
I am looking forward that US should push. You know, China is making some overture now.
Yes.
China is making that.
Why do you think China is doing that anyway?
China is the country that have been fueling it. It is now exposed. You know, Oshomole spoke today on the floor of the National Assembly.
It wasn't today. He has said that thing a long time ago, where he said that the Chinese company, they milk, they sponsor terrorists for waiting they happen when they go.
Fine. That is the true position of things. And so what you see the Chinese attempting to do is just a move on their part to protect their economic fraud against Nigerians.
And they mind gold well.
And the position is that it is left for us Nigerians. See, where we are now, Nigerians should rise up. We should synergize. We should drop things like ethnicity. We should drop things like religion. Yes. Reverend Ezekiel, you will notice that he has attained for himself a status that is higher than any man of God in this country. I can tell you that.
And he's not as wealthy as the men of God.
Yes, the big so-called men of God. I'm sorry to use that word, so-called. The big men of God in this country. This man have exalted himself. In fact, he's reminded Martin Luther King Jr. You remember Martin Luther King Jr. was in Birmingham prison, from where he wrote his longest letter, because his white colleagues said that the timing of his joining the sanitation worker to do demonstration was wrong, and he asked them if there is a wrong time of doing what is right. And he told the church then that the judgment of God was coming to the church in America then. Let me tell you, as far back some years ago, God raised a young man called Pastor Emmanuel Dosomu of Redeemed Christian Church of God. He was the person anchoring the youth wing of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Germany. God arrested this young man and asked him to come back to Nigeria to warn the church that what is happening today will happen. I have raised in that my video, I have asked Adeboye what he did with that information. I have asked him. And today, what that young man was crying about saying has happened. We should just thank God. God, listen to the blood of those who have departed. Listen to the voice of people like Reverend Ezekiel, and raise Trump. So Trump is a rallying point that every right-thinking Nigerian, look, let me tell you, I live in Rivers State, all right? You are aware of the state of emergency they declared in Rivers State.
Yes, sir.
That declaration of state of emergency was part of Islamic agenda.
How?
If you don't know, quote me, listen to me.
How?
I will give you, I'm going to give you a live point. Do you know part of the assignment of that man? He set up, you know, the SSG to that government was a professor of law. This is where I blame lawyers. Instead of lawyers standing for what is right and telling people, you can't do this, they are driven by money. It's a professor of law that was the secretary to that illegality that happened in Rivers State. One of the things that my professional colleague Proxy did in Rivers State, he set up a committee and made the professor chairman of that committee. Do you know the title of that committee? Farmer Header Crash Committee. This Farmer Header Crash is a coinage by these terrorists to psychologically brainwash Nigerians that there is a crash that exists between farmers and headers. There is nothing like that. We have terrorists who came to invade our land. See, let me tell you, in Nigeria presently, almost every week, there is emergence of new terrorist group. Almost every week, emergence of new terrorist group. I challenge anybody, if you have heard of any Christian terrorist group, they are all Islamic based. And if you ask them what is their purpose, what is their drive, their purpose is to take indigenous land from the indigenous population and Islamize Nigeria. These are the twin principles that they come in for.
No, but the government has said
in Rivers State,
there's nothing like Islamization, that's not possible.
I am telling you, but for this Trump strike, they have completed their assignment. One day, see, let me tell you, do you know what they use Akpabio to do? The Senate president. The Senate president, because of what happened in Rivers State, which was a test ground, it was a test move. he struck down the constitutional provision that asks that if they are going to approve a state of emergency, it's going to be by two-thirds majority. The Senate president turned it into a voice vote instead of two-thirds majority. That is the highest form of open rape on the Constitution. So the Constitution does not matter. They can twist it because Sharia, which is anchored on feudalism, does not recognize rule of law. It does not recognize constitutionalism. It does not recognize democracy. It does not recognize the principles and institutions of democracy. Supreme Court suddenly became deaf for the 6 months of that illegality, that constitutional fraud and atrocity in Rivers State. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, because you know that Nigeria was appealing to the Privy Council until 1963 when Nigeria became a republic. So Supreme Court became the highest law of the land. The Supreme Court was frustrated and made deaf and dumb until the 6 months was over. So now, as happened, we become an academic exercise. So it is the courts that have been captured that they are now using to fund and push the feudal legal system on all Nigerians. That is how bad the situation is. I visited my client's property in Rivers State here. I told you last time.
Yes, you said it.
Around 6 p.m. in the evening, these terrorists masquerading as herdsmen. There is an extant judgment against open grazing in Nigeria. An extant judgment against open grazing in Nigeria. They have not appealed against that judgment. If that judgment were in favor of the Fulanis, they would have implemented it. And the way these terrorists use the law, you saw what Manami did under Buhari. Manami used the instrument of the law to declare IPOB a terrorist group. Meanwhile, Mieti Allah, which is a recognized terrorist group, there are so many terrorist groups that have emerged in Nigeria. Not one of them has been captured in the legal radar. Not one. This is how the feudal master used law. So you have double standard. You see what is happening to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? That is judicial terrorism. They use the law manipulatively for their own purpose. In the light of extraordinary rendition, no court in Nigeria can try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because Nigeria is a signatory to international covenant. Let him go ahead and then let him upon all the judgment that have been given in Kenya, upon all the pressure, international pressure.
They say if you not defend yourself by November 7th, say no more defense for him again. Say no more.
Let him go ahead. Let him go ahead and give
the Carlo has insisted that there is no case. Say no get anything.
There is no case. He should insist on that. Let us see the end of this matter. This is the best time for Nigeria. This time we are in is the best time ever in Nigeria. We will see the end of that matter. That Mazi Nnamdi Kanu case is a perfect example of feudalism using law against the people. That's Sharia. That's Sharia in action. What you are seeing is Sharia in action. You can see you don't understand it. I am talking to you as a lawyer. You don't. Can you see the audacity of Sheikh Gumi? Can you see his audacity?
Yes.
In defense of terrorists in a country like this. See, let me give you the peak of it. For a country that claimed to have sovereignty, here they are talking about sovereignty now.
Yes, sir.
A country that claimed to have sovereignty to import foreign terrorists into its territory to kill its citizens, that should tell you that something is fundamentally wrong. That is the height of it. For such a country, and then rehabilitate these foreign terrorists into his army, and they are killing their citizens. Come on. See, we are waiting for Donald Trump. They should move in the US Army. Port Harcourt here, they are going to build a military base. Let them come. The earlier, the better. The earlier, the better.
But you see, do you think that Trump will live through to the threat? That's what many are saying. Especially other people.
Sure. We are looking. Look, they should do a kind of presbyterian in Nigeria and have the pulse of the feeding of Nigeria. Majority of Nigerians are interested in it. See, there is enough wealth in this country. There are few criminals that are relying on these terrorists. Do you understand? The present APC government.
Okay, go ahead.
The present APC government, I have said it, is a postulation that I've insisted on. I've been shut down in radio station before now. The twin principle upon which this present government is operating is alliance with terrorists and alliance with imperialists. Number one, do you know that Nigeria has globally recognized comparative economic advantage in the production of crude oil? By that principle alone, I did a research work on the legal framework for environmental management in Nigeria, the petroleum industry in focus. By the position of Nigeria and the manpower that Nigeria has, it has no business importing a drop of refined product. We have the capacity, we have the raw material. But why is Nigeria not refining our crude oil locally for the benefit of Nigeria? They know that if they do that, the economic holocaust, which is a legitimate weapon of war in political economics, will collapse. This hunger, this economic holocaust Nigerians are passing through is deliberately created by the political class against Nigerians.